Yo, what's up, guys? Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Caster, one of the HCS commentators, analysts, and grassroots content creators. And today we have another HCS report where we're going to be breaking down Halo World Championship, the final official HCS Halo World Championship. And we're going to go right from pool play all the way to bracket play. Let's break it all down here. And yeah, we'll start off in Pool A. Pool A, things kind of went according to normal. Shopify Rebellion pulling off a 3-0. Luminon Gaming 2-1. Halo Esports 1-2. And Legion Gaming not able to pull off a win. Sadly, Legion Gaming was playing with their coach, Jagged Cloud, after the craziness that went down with Gunplexion at the previous event in Charlotte. Legion Gaming not able to get a win. Halo Esports looking pretty damn good. They'll end up in the lower bracket where Luminon and Shopify Rebellion will be your number 1 and number 2 seed going into championship bracket. From here was where things got a little bit crazy. Because after that, Pool B, you had Cloud9 coming out number 1 in pools. That's right, Cloud9 coming up number 1 in pools, even over FaZe Clan. I believe it was a Game 5 that happened on the B stream where Cloud9 were able to get a clutch win over FaZe Clan and take the number 1 seed in pools. FaZe Clan coming out number 2, Mindfreak number 3, and sadly SWAT Light America going to be eliminated here. Remember, the final 4 teams of each pool were eliminated, sadly, not going to the championship bracket. Mindfreak didn't make it in, number 1 team from Australia. Cloud9 number 1, FaZe number 2 on the Pool C. Again, things get a little bit crazy here. Optic number 1. Finally good to see Optic Gaming, finishing out on top in pools. They've always seemed to have a rough time in pool play. However, they were able to get it done at Worlds cleanly against both Complexity and TSM and even Majin Club as well. Optic Gaming finishing off, were they undefeated? Can I see that? I don't know if I would say undefeated. They might have dropped at least 1 map. They had to drop at least 1 map. But either way, Complexity coming out with the win over TSM, this was huge. This was absolutely huge. Complexity upsetting TSM, knocking them down a lot earlier than expected. They would go in to the lower bracket as your number 3 seed. Complexity taking number 2, Majin being eliminated for competition in Pool C. Pool D, Envy, SSG, and Unreal Nightmare end up in a 3-way tie. Bro. So, I'm going to say I remember this correctly. I believe Space Station beat Envy. Unreal Nightmare, I want to say, beat Space Station Gaming. Omit took SSG to Game 5. And I believe Envy beat out Unreal Nightmare. So even though Unreal Nightmare beat out SSG and even beat Omit 3-0, where Omit was able to take SSG to Game 5, Omit's matchup didn't matter. If it did, as far as map count, Unreal Nightmare might have been 1 or 2 seed. But what mattered more was the head-to-head. And the problem is that Envy and Unreal Nightmare, Envy got it done against Unreal Nightmare. And it might have even been a 3-0. And that's what was the real difference maker. The matchup against Omit, because if you count Omit taking SSG to Game 5, and then Unreal Nightmare sweeping them, you would think Unreal Nightmare would end up above SSG, maybe even above Envy. However, didn't happen that way. It was actually Unreal Nightmare that a 3rd place in pools, sadly, and SSG and Envy end up number 1 and number 2 seed. That was absolute madness with that. I promise you it was. But Worlds, this is going to be your top 1, 2, 3, 4 seed, and we'll go into the round 1. And I guess from here we'll even mention the rosters as well, make it a little bit easier. Shopify Rebellion, Frosty, Roll 2, Last Shot, and Cycle able to come out with the 3-2 win against FaZe's Trippy, Penguin, Snakebite, and Lucid. FaZe tested Shopify Rebellion more so than I even thought, because I said if FaZe go up against Shopify Rebellion in the matchup or any matchup and winners or lower side, I had Shopify Rebellion 3-0ing them, if not 3-1ing them, because I liked FaZe against an Optic Gaming. I liked FaZe against SSG. I liked FaZe more against every other team except for Shopify Rebellion. I didn't think they had it in them to take them to a game 5, to be honest with you, but they did. And honestly, at times, it looked like FaZe were going to come out with the win, and it looked like they weren't going to make it to a game 5. I think FaZe played Shopify Rebellion incredibly. Shout out to Trippy Penguin, Snakebite, and Lucid. However, they would drop down to the lower bracket. Eventually, Envy, Piggy, Yaxon, Descendant, and Precision would also lose to Complexity in round number 1 of the winner's side. Cherished, Mental, Vitamin, King Nick. Keep in mind, Complexity already coming off upsetting TSM. This would also be considered an upset against Envy. Complexity huge, but if you know anything, we'll talk about Envy later on. Optic versus SSG 3-0 go the way of Optic Gaming. Formal Bound, Legend, and Renegade cleanly did what they had to do in pool play and continued that in the early rounds of bracket play. Eco, Stellar, Suppressed, and Falcated not able to get a win against Optic Gaming. And I did say I liked SSG chances against Optic Gaming a lot more. Again, kind of similar to FaZe against Shopify Rebellion. I think this matchup was actually winnable for SSG, even though they got swept. Cloud9 and Luminon. I had high hopes for Luminon Gaming. I said they would get 4th place in my prediction, along with FaZe getting 3rd place, Optic 2nd, and Shopify 1st. Luminon Gaming losing out to Cloud9 in round number 1, getting 3-0'd, in fact, by Cloud9, which is crazy because remember Luminon and remember Envy, because they lost in the winners round 1. But we're going to talk about them more throughout the rest of the tournament. Just remember those names. Shopify Rebellion, 3-0 Complexity, no real surprise there. Optic Gaming get taken to game 5 by Cloud9. What I think is more surprising here is the fact that Cloud9 were able to take Optic to a game 5 as opposed to Optic actually winning. Cloud9 were playing incredible both Friday and Saturday, doing their thing. We'll see what everything else looks like in the lower bracket here soon, but want to give some love to Cloud9. A big win against Luminon, and then also taking Optic to a game 5. And on top of that, like we talked about before, finishing out 1st place in pools. In the winners bracket finals, we had Shopify Rebellion with the 4-1 over Optic Game. Remember, the winners bracket finals was done on Sunday, and on Sundays it was all best of 7s. So Shopify Rebellion knocking Optic down to the lower bracket, where we'll talk about the lower bracket. TSM upset FaZe, knocking them down and out in top 12. As much as we talked about FaZe and their improvements that they were making time and time again, Manny, Druck, Taulik, and Soul Snipe coming out with the win over FaZe Clan, and that was unexpected because FaZe continued to get better and better. In fact, they literally went in the grand finals just 3 weeks ago at Charlotte. Maybe at this point 4 weeks ago, but 3 weeks up to this point 3 weeks ago. And knocked from grand final, 2nd place, to knocked out in top 12. Absolutely crazy. But TSM 3-1 over FaZe Clan would advance forward. NV 3-1 over Magical Drift, Lure, and Acid. Halo Esports knocked out in top 12. Space Station Gaming 3-1 over Mindfreak. Mindfreak were incredible in Charlotte and even incredible here, but sadly they bow out in 12th place. I mean, you ran into SSG in lower bracket round number 1. That is not their fault. Luminon 3-0 over Unreal Nightmare. Unreal Nightmare, who felt like they should have had a number 1 or number 2 seed coming out of pool play, sadly ran into Luminon elimination bracket round number 1, and Luminon would go on to make a deep run, 3-0 Unreal Nightmare. Envy then coming out with a 3-1 win over TSM. I think TSM and Envy have matched up a couple of times, and a couple of times have actually gone down to a game 5. TSM have gotten the best of Envy a couple of times on land, but Envy were on a mission, and a 3-1 TSM. Luminon 3-0 Space Station Gaming back back-to-back upsets for SSG and FaZe, getting knocked down to top 12 and then eventually top 8 for Space Station Gaming. Luminon would advance forward once again, where Envy with 3-1. Cloud9 had an amazing run in the winners bracket, end up down into lower bracket and run into Envy, who were again on a mission, and so were Luminon Gaming. Complexity came off with some big wins against TSM and then eventually against Envy, but down to the lower bracket, Luminon would finally knock them out, and it ended up being a championship Sunday that nobody expected, because I had Shopify winning, Optic second. I even had Luminon in fourth, but nobody expected Envy to come in, not only beat Luminon, knocked them out in fourth place, but earned himself a top 3 finish. Optic would then 4-0 sweep Envy out in third place, where we had a grand finals that looked oh so familiar in Shopify Rebellion versus Optic Gaming. And one with Shopify Rebellion would do the same thing they did in the winner's side. 4-1. There's a 4-1 to become your champions. Shopify Rebellion, your world champions. They go back to back to back to end the season, the year, to end Halo Infinite as far as HCS is concerned. Shopify Rebellion come out with a huge win and are your champions. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm proud of the boys, man. You know, I look back at my career, back when I first started streaming. Frosty came into my stream one day and was like, "Hey, yo, Tony, you trying to run some games?" I'm like, "Me?" And for like 3 weeks straight, I was playing matchmaker, one of the greatest Halo players of all times. It was crazy. Like out of nowhere, I was playing Halo with Frosty for like 3 weeks straight. Insane. Royal 2, been there, done that, and I even called it up until this point, the Royal 2 effect, where you've been so good that people expect it, and it's almost boring. It's not even exciting anymore. And I guess his gameplay isn't the most exciting in the world either, at least as far as when he's in tournaments and whatnot. It's simple. He hits shots, he wins fights, he watches his teammates back. That's it. What do you want? He hits his shots. Like, it almost become the World 2 effect, where he's so good that we almost underrate him for being so good for so long. And my poke catch is working. Let's go. What the hell? Did it say? I don't even know. Okay. Last shot and cycle. I've known them for quite some time. Oh my gosh. I was casting last shot at SWAT tournaments. I remember seeing Cycle's name a bunch, but what stands out like esports arena and LVT tournaments. But I remember what stood out to me was I was playing with Danny Precaution, and he brings Cycle in, and this Cycle ends up like carrying the crap out. I think it was like Cycle and Piggy, I want to say, carried the crap out of me and Danny in matchmaking in Halo 5. That has always like stood out to me. I'm so proud of the boys. I guess I'm biased as hell. I don't even care. I love Optic too. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Formal, Legend, Renegade, and Bound, but I have a special place in my heart for these boys, especially Cycle and Last Shot, and the journey that they've been on, and them being so young. But they are your champions, and man, it was quite the run here for Worlds, man. It really was. And I'm excited to hear there's going to be more Halo Infinite action. Maybe not official HCS tournaments for Halo Infinite, but there is going to be a lot more Halo Infinite action. You know, people like LVT, SSG, Shopify Rebellion, you know, DreamHack, a whole bunch of people are stepping up in order to fill that gap until whatever's next. And I am excited about that. And we already heard about, 2 dream hacks. We already heard about some stuff that's already happening, but there's going to be even more. And that's what I really am excited for. So I forgot I was recording a YouTube video, but I will catch y'all later. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, yada, yada, yada. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.